Graphical explanation of Welcome to the graphical explanation of how time alterations work in the Back to the Future movie. Before we start, let's take note and keep in mind these three little rules. 1. Back to the Future is a movie, a tremendously awesome movie but still a movie, so it's fictional and may contain mistakes due to narrative needs. 2. Back to the Future is based on time travels which are not possible, so we can clearly say that the movie cannot be scientifically reliable. 3. Everything you'll see here is based on my personal unofficial and non-scientific theory. Based on this, I've always thought Back to the Future has its own almost perfect time travel logic which some people hardly understand. In this video I'll try to explain how time alterations made by time travelers create different timelines, and I'll show how they evolve and how people and objects react. I've done this with simple and funny graphics to be as clear as I could with such a complex subject. Let's start. First time travel is made by Einstein, which with a single trip 1 minute forward tests the time machine. Since this is a really fast trip with no consequences, it is not enough to create time alterations, as we will explain later. Then Doc is shot by a group of terrorists. Marty accidentally activates the time machine, escaping from the Libyans, and goes back through time. Marty arrives in 1955 at Peabody's farm. When Peabody's family see Marty and the DeLorean, they are terrorized, so Otis starts shooting at Marty with his rifle. Marty escapes with the DeLorean and accidentally destroys one of Peabody's pines which Otis is breeding in his farm. The Peabody story is not really important for the movie, but we'll consider it because it's useful to explain how things work. First of all, these events mark an alteration of time, shown as the red circle. From the red circle grows a new alternate timeline, the timeline A, which is actually a clone of the original, for us the one on top of it. On timeline A, you can see a green circle positioned at the same exact time of the red circle. From the green circle, which acts like a detonated bomb, starts a shockwave which expands progressively on the right, in the direction of the future. Each part of timeline A, invested by the shockwave, suffers of all the changes that derive from the event of alteration of time that the time traveler caused. For example, in the case of Peabody event, the cause is that he saw Marty dressed with the anti-contamination suit. The effect can be seen in an unused prop of a newspaper page dated November 7, 1955, 2 days after Marty has arrived, that says Otis Peabody has been declared insane after telling the police that he saw an alien in a spaceship. This does not exist in the original timeline. Timeline A has been converted according to what has been changed before. As another example, as the shockwave reaches the date of construction of the Twin Pines Mall, named in honor of the crazy idea of the landowner, I guess somewhere in the 70s, in timeline A, its name is automatically converted to Lone Pine Mall, as we can see at the end of the movie, which is settled in 1985 A, just because Marty destroyed one of the 2 pines of Peabody in 1955. For a person living in 1985 A, for example like Jennifer, the change takes few minutes to complete, but she does not even realize it happened. For her the name of the mall is and always has been Lone Pine Mall. The time travelers, in our case Marty, are unaware of the changes happening in the future of timeline A. For him, for example, the name of the mall is still Twin Pines Mall, the one it was when he left 1985. One thing to remember is that while he is in the past, the changes of timeline A are happening slowly. On his point of view, if he could, he would see the shockwave growing progressively. Marty saves George from being hit by Mr. Bain's car. This event is extraordinarily destructive, since George doesn't meet Lorraine, and even worse, Lorraine falls in love with Marty. So Marty's parents don't fall in love with each other when they should. This event creates another timeline B, which originates from timeline A. The shockwave of time changes starts spreading from the second event over timeline B. If Lorraine and George won't fall in love, they won't have children too. While Marty is trying to convince Doc that he comes from the future, the shockwave progresses and reaches the date of birth of Dave McFly. Since without Lorraine and George engagement he has never been born, he starts to disappear from existence. The effect can be seen on the McFly family photograph. While Marty is struggling to get her parents back together with Doc's help, he makes small timeline changes like this. He meets George while writing stories and encourages him about them, then secretly meets George dressed as an alien. So in 1985, George publishes a science fiction book and its cover resembles Marty's anti-contamination suit. Like Dave, even Linda McFly disappears from existence when the shockwave reaches her birth date. Next one will be Marty. Finally, Marty combines an intricate date between George and Lorraine, but it does not finish like it was planned because Biff arrives and George beats him with a fist on face. With this event, George is no more submissive with Biff. This creates another timeline, C, which derives from timeline B. In this new timeline, Biff is no longer a successful man without the help of George, and in 1985C becomes a car washer. Unfortunately, this is not enough for Marty, since their future parents have not kissed yet. The shockwave is dangerously reaching his birth date, and he starts to disappear. Finally, while Marty is playing the guitar during Earth Angel, George and Lorraine kiss. This event breaks the paradox that created timeline B, in which they didn't fall in love. A new timeline D is created. The shockwave stops its destructive course that started on that paradox almost immediately. Time, with its self-preservation instinct, recovers what has been changed between timeline A and timeline B after the paradox. Dave, Linda and Marty reappear on the 80s family photograph because on the new timeline, D, they will still be born. Though the events of the first meeting between Marty and Doc and their subsequent chats have obviously created several minor timelines we did not consider, let's just consider this last one, but most important, when Marty gives Doc the letter where he says that Doc will be shot in 1985. A new timeline E is created. Remember that it derives from all the changes that have been made since Marty went back to 1955. A new shockwave starts. Finally, Marty can be sent back to the future. When Marty arrives in 1985E, the shockwave has already reached that year, and as we said before, he is unconscious of the changes that happened. Marty arrives in 1985E, and Doc saves himself from the shots with a bulletproof vest, since he read the warning letter Marty wrote in 1955.